or whatever your argument is, and that I'm somehow the worst, most dangerous man in the world because I have a car. It's just disingenuous, and I'm enjoying this interview very much because this shows the world. It's great. It shows the world the truth about the legacy media because they beg me for interviews. They beg me, you have been begging me for months, please, we need to be relevant. And then you come here with loaded questions trying to paint a picture of me, which is completely and utterly false. I am a good positive influence for the world. The things I teach men are stoicism, discipline, self-respect, hard work, obeying authority, listening to your fight coach, working hard in school, making as much money as possible in your job. If you actually watch the things I say, if you actually watch my comments about women, I've done long podcasts for hours long about females, talking about protecting for them, providing for them, how I believe women should be treated in a relationship. I've done all of this, but you don't watch any of it, and then you come here and ask me to answer questions I've answered at length thousands of times.
Since you came out of custody, there seems to have been a lot about your charity work.
Correct.
On your social media.
I've always done the charity work, but now I'm promoting it.
There seems to be a real shift.
Yeah.
I wonder what's behind that.
Well, I've always done the charity work. I've been doing the charity work for years. I believe that it's my legacy to leave a positive influence on the world, and I've been doing charity work for over 5 years. Post my incarceration, my unfair, unjust incarceration, may I add. Post that, I've made it more clear the charity work I'm doing. But this is, once again, very interesting. I spend $25 million a year feeding children, men, male children, and female children. In Turkey, in Syria, in Iran, and Iraq, I literally spend $25 million a year feeding children. And I'm still the worst man in the world because 4 years ago I made a sarcastic comment.
Because some people would look at that and say, okay, so before you got money from attracting people to your website by making controversial comments, but that might have got you into trouble. And so now you're looking for a new market. You're looking for a new market of followers who are attracted by a different sort of persona.
I've always done the charity work, so that is obviously incorrect, and I have proof that I've always done the charity work, so you're wrong, firstly. I believe that if you have a lot of wealth, you should help people, and I'm helping people. I also think it's very, very interesting that you could not find another celebrity in the UK or anywhere else who's spending £25 million a year feeding children in war-torn countries. I'm doing that, and I've been doing that for a long time without even mentioning it. I never even said it. And now that I've said it, people are going to attack me for it and say that it's disingenuous. The person in Sudan who's eating the meal, do you think they believe it's disingenuous? No, I think they feel pretty good that Andrew Tate fed them. And to sit here and say that I'm a bad person now because I'm manipulating charity, because I'm using charity, I'm just trying to do good in the world. That's all I've ever been trying to do.
When women speak out against you online, disagree with what you say, they describe being bombarded with rape threats, with death threats, trolling by your followers. Would you like to say anything to your followers about how to behave in that situation?
Absolutely, correct. I would love to do that. First things first, I've yet to see a female stand up and argue with me online. I don't ever see hardly any. Only women who message me agree with me. Secondly, I don't think that anybody who disagrees with me, male or female, should be trolled. I don't think they should be insulted or attacked. I think the ideas should be discussed openly and fairly and maturely. It doesn't matter if a man agrees with me or disagrees with me or a female. I don't think my followers should come along and attack her, and if my followers are doing that, I'm upset by that. But let's make a very important clarification. That's not my followers. That's the internet. If you were to log into any video game lobby, I don't play video games, and someone were to sit there and say something stupid, they would be trolled with similar comments. That's the unfortunate reality of the internet as a whole. That's nothing to do with me. But I encourage all of my followers to engage in open discourse and be fair and honest and talk in a way which is mature. There's no need to troll anybody, male or female.
Okay.
Other things. I wonder if you'd be giving Andrew one opportunity to consider whether or not he would like to apologise or give an indication of how he feels about the allegations that he has negatively influenced young people raping. And secondly, I think we should put on record that this interview is taking place in your house because you're under house arrest. If it were not for that, then we would have chosen another location. I'm sure we would have negotiated that between us. So I think that's just what you're really
Okay. So, just to put on the record then, you said that you've invited us into your house.
Correct.
We're here because you're under house arrest.
Correct.
If you were free to leave, we would have negotiated a more neutral setting.
Don't you think, as the BBC, it would be very interesting to come here and discuss the fact that I was put in a dungeon for 92 days and then locked in house arrest without charge? Don't you think that's a far more interesting conversation than old YouTube snippets? Don't you think that would be interesting?
You're here under house arrest because there's an ongoing investigation into rape and human trafficking allegations against you.
Correct. I've been incarcerated without charge. And don't you think
The rape allegation
it's been dropped?
Has been incarcerated for.
Correct. So I'm incarcerated without charge, and I think that would be a far more interesting conversation. But then I guess Julian Assange is incarcerated without charge, and nobody's interested in that either. So if you actually wanted to do some genuine journalism and investigation, we could talk about the fact that an innocent man who is yet to be charged with a crime has had his liberty deprived of him. And I think that would be a far more interesting angle than talking about me being the most dangerous man in the world beside the car.
And this question about schools being very worried about your influence.
Yeah.
Boys in primary school, or boys as young as 11, are quoting you at school,
Yeah.
attacking girls, refusing to respect female teachers.
Yeah.
Would you like to say anything about that?
I'd like to say a lot. First things first, as I've repeatedly said, and the only reason I keep repeating it is because I'm sure this interview will be edited. I am a positive force for the world, and I teach children discipline. I teach the world discipline, male or female, of any age. And a lot of women listen to me as well. 40% of the people who listen to me are actually female. Secondly, I do understand with my massive influence, and I am now the one of the most influential people on the planet, that I do have to be slightly more careful with things I say. I'm not going to disagree with that. The idea that I said something 5 years ago on a video that got 300 views...
So what do you mean, being slightly more careful?
I'll give you an example. Some of the jokes I made 4 or 5 years ago on a YouTube channel that got 300 views, I would no longer make...
Like what?
Like the OnlyFans joke, the one you mentioned, repeatedly. She said, my man's car is my car. And then she said she did OnlyFans. And I said, what do you saw on OnlyFans? She said, my tits. And I said, well, those are your man's tits. As a joke, ha ha ha, everybody laughed. The fact that I could do that on a podcast 5 years ago and only got 300 views, now I understand I'm the most influential man on the face of the planet. I would be more careful with certain things I say. That doesn't mean the things I originally said were genuinely out to harm people.
Do you really believe you're the most influential man on the face of the planet?
I'm the most Googled person on the planet.
Do you believe you're the most influential man on the face of the planet?
I'm the most Googled man on the planet.
I think we're done.
Thanks, Lucy. It was enjoyable.